Hello, I'm Full Paragon, and this is your guide to the second Kraken EX Arena in Konosuba Fantastic Days. In comparison to the first Kraken Arena, which is probably the hardest EX Arena we have ever had to face, this is significantly easier. The bonus here is physical damage, not defense, and unlike the calendar that Nexon released, the bonus here is not based on characters, but purely on the amount of physical damage dealt. The boss will target the front character and is immune to debuffs. Most of your score is going to come from dealing damage, so focused on DPS. Healing here is also optional, and your team can get by with very little recovery options. The first and most important choice you need to make is who you're going to run up front to soak damage as your tank. Darkness is actually a poor choice here, as most of your score is going to come from damage, not from keeping your characters alive. Mitsubishi is great. He has a healing ultimate, and he's very sturdy, especially if you give him his personal weapon. Damage cut is now fixed, so Leah would also be a good choice, as not only does she have a lot of defense thanks to the damage cut on her ult, but she provides a lot of team utility with that tier 2 agility buff. Mia is alright, but isn't as good. The boss will target the front, so make sure that your tank will be able to survive those hits. If you must bring Darkness, I would recommend you bring Swimsuit Darkness. Danmachi Darkness won't work well, as well she does have a damage cut in her kit. Unfortunately, that damage cut blocks earth damage, while the boss mostly deals normal damage. I would leave Darkness off of your team. The core of your team will be the damage dealers. Hands down, the best option here is Eyes. She deals more damage than any other physical character, she has more team support with a tier 3 physical attack buff and gauge fill, and is just generally the best character that physical has. Danmachi Aqua is also very solid. She has a lot of gauge fill, she is able to give a tier 3 physical attack buff on a skill instead of an ultimate, and is just all around a high damage character, especially thanks to her ultimate, which gives her a tier 3 agility buff. I will note, if you take Danmachi Aqua, you don't really have any option as a healer, but that's probably alright this arena, as again, you're trying to deal the most damage possible, and if a character falls, you can still bring it back up. Other good options include Kempo Erika, who is basically the poor man's Eyes, but still can deal a lot of damage. Iris is a great option. Ballroom is probably the best one, but other Irises work well, especially if you're using the second version of her first ult, which gives healing and will keep your characters alive just a little bit longer. Chris is a good choice, as she's generally high damage, but do remember that since the boss is immune to debuffs, you will either need to use the second version of her first ult or her ult 2, as the agility down debuff will not affect the boss. If you're going to bring a healer, your only two real options are either Swimsuit Aqua or New Year's Aqua, as they are the only healers of note that you can bring to this arena. It's not mandatory or even the best idea to bring them as a healer, since Danmachi Aqua offers a lot more damage and is probably a better quick. If you don't have Danmachi Aqua and have one of these two though, you can do just fine using one of them. I think you're better off getting most of your healing from Mitsu or Iris's ultimates, as they'll keep your team just alive enough to finish the fight. Even if you lose characters, your score will likely still be quite high, as this is a relatively easy EX arena. Here's a sample team. This is the one that I'm running myself, this EX arena, and there are a lot of good options you have for replacements, with the exception of Eyes or Danmachi Aqua. Mitsurugi is great to have up front. You can use the original Mitsurugi. I think he's the best option, as he has a physical defense buff and some minor healing, but Snow Mitsurugi or even Welfermin Mitsurugi are also good options. Danmachi Aqua and Eyes don't have any real replacements right now. They're the highest damage physical characters currently available, and if you have them, I really recommend you bring them. Ballroom Iris is your best option as an Iris, but Casino Iris, Halloween Iris, or even just Original Iris are decent options. Even the Welfare or Pizza Iris will work well in that slot. Last, I have Leah. If you're really struggling to slay alive, Swimsuit Leah does have a minor heal that can help keep your team up, although I would recommend a higher damage Leah over one that gives more survivability, as I think overall that will contribute to your score more. For welfare and lower rarity options, I think Welfare Win Mitsurugi is overall the best option you can have, especially up front. He's quite sturdy, he has healing on his ultimate, and he deals a not inconsiderable amount of damage. Swimsuit Leah is a good choice if you're struggling to get a high score due to your team dying. She has a healing ability, as well as damage cut on her ultimate and a tier 2 agility buff. Snow Erica is always a pretty good welfare option. She has a tier 1 agility buff on a skill, and of course tier 3 physical attack up on her ult. Pizza Iris, as I mentioned, is a pretty great welfare choice here. She's a 3-star that deals a lot of damage and has some minor healing. I have Bell here in the rear. He's not really good this arena, because a lot of Bell's utility comes from the tier 3 physical defense debuff that he has on Firebolt. Unfortunately, since the boss is immune, Firebolt hits like a wet noodle and doesn't really do anything. You're actually better off just not using it at all. His cooldown cut is still very useful here, and if you can get his ultimate off, it does deal a lot of damage, although that increased charge time does hurt it. That's the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you around again soon in Konosuba Fantastic Days.